toll lanes. And the last thing I'll say is listening to one of the city council transportation planning and development committee meetings, I learned that the fast track studies that were done in 2007. Mm-hmm. So why are we looking at 20-year-old studies as opposed to putting together more recent studies to make sure that the decisions that we make and the money that funds it are appropriate for the times that we live in today?
And I've had an opportunity to cover this story quite a bit, and I've talked to people in communities, especially people who live in those neighborhoods impacted, and they tell me they fear they could lose their homes, they fear there could be pollution, so many environmental issues that people that I have spoken to they talked to me about. What are they telling you?
Yeah, so what they're saying, first of all, they're saying thank you. And the Black Political Caucus, since the late 60s, they have been about looking at the intersection of education, housing, health, and certainly workforce. And in doing so, these things aren't silos. They work together. Transportation is a huge part of that. So what the neighbors are saying to us is, why is it that we're learning about these things as surveyors are on our property? And that's something that is very concerning to me. That is something that I have shared with our city council, our mayor, and others, because that should never be the case. And so as we've had those conversations, there's been a significant confusion as to what can and cannot be done. So these neighbors were told that there was nothing that the city council could do. And that was given to them by an attorney. And I'm here to say that we believe that that has been debunked. There are several members of city council who have said that they don't perceive there to be a legal reason why the city cannot rescind its vote for CRTPO. There's a process. They first have to put it on the city council agenda. Mm-hmm. The city council then has to vote to rescind its its vote. Then they have to get that on the CRTPO agenda, and then the CRTPO body is afforded an opportunity to vote. That is a real opportunity that Charlotte has, and we should not be concerned about executing that when NCDOT has not performed the steps that they were required to do. Since then, they have opened up community engagement centers. I actually attended the first week it was open on, I believe, a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I attended that Friday. I went back today and attended a meeting there that's being hosted to help engage the community. As I shared with them, it's fantastic that we now have that engagement. However, don't accelerate the timeline that neighbors, the community, has to make a decision, which June is where they're looking to have the RFP process. Mm-hmm. Don't accelerate our timeline to understand what benefits we'd like to have, given the fact that they have not done what they were supposed to do within the timeline that they laid out. So that's our concern. That's why we have the TRO, the temporary restraining order. That's why the Black Political Caucus and neighbors of McCrory Heights have taken the stance of suing NCDOT, mm-hmm. and that date for that hearing is scheduled for June the 30th.
What is your biggest concern right now?
My greatest concern is our city council. And I personally believe that we, the people, including myself and the city of Charlotte, we place them in a position to be our representatives. And what I have found is that there are things we have been told, one of those being the inability of the city council to actually rescind the vote. not to be true. Okay? And then, in addition to that, there have been concerns that I've heard around the environmental studies. We're doing an environmental assessment that is following the letter of the law, as I understand, but there is an EI, an EIS, if you will, assessment that goes further, deeper, to measure more things than just the environment, the air, so on and so forth. And my greatest concern is the community now, because of the concern of trust in our local as well as state constituencies, we now have to explore these things ourselves. And that's deeply troubling for me. And what I'm looking for is for our city council to step up, represent we the people, and do that in a manner that is in alignment with why the community has put them in these positions in the first place.
I was talking, this is a soundbite from someone who I spoke with, or a quote rather, Kenneth Fenderson, a 4-year resident of McCrory Heights. She told me this a few months ago. She said the expansion would bring increased noise and traffic hazards and to the residential areas there. What is your response to that?
Yes. I actually am a resident of McCrory Heights. My family, my wife's family, have lived in McCrory Heights for almost 100 years, 1927. The property that we reside at today, her family's been there for over 80 years. I hear the traffic on Brookshire. I hear the traffic on I-77. I hear trains. And that I have learned is because, where we do have retaining walls in certain areas, we don't have sound walls, okay? Sound walls. Retaining walls are there for retention of the earth. Sound walls are there to reduce the sound. So if we're bringing it closer to the community, even if we're not eroding away the homes themselves, there is a noise barrier there, and I do believe that's an environmental concern. I hear that noise every morning, and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and loud cars. These are not things that are healthy in any environment. So I agree with that neighbor, and I experience that myself. My family experiences that.
Before we wrap up, any closing remarks, anything else you want to say or add?
Well, I just want to first and foremost thank the Black Political Caucus. This is not just a issue that's impacting black people. Many of these communities that we're talking about, we say they're historically black. And candidly speaking, most of them are majority white. But that doesn't take away the history. That doesn't take away those before us who stood in the gap so that we could be afforded these opportunities. And for my family and my wife's family to see gentrification happen to where we're now living on the property that they themselves sacrificed for us to have, I want to make sure that that continues to be an environment that community grows and supports one another. So very proud of the opportunity that the Black Political Caucus is creating for our community, and certainly honored to be the chair of the Ad Hoc Transportation Committee.
All right. Rocky McGregor, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us. For those of you just tuning in, we've been talking to Mr. McGregor about the I-77 corridor, a very controversial project that NCDOT, it says it has to happen. They say it's not an option. But again, we've been hearing from so many communities who say they feel they will be impacted by this. And a lot of people have been speaking out. Thank you again so much for your time. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about McShire Boulevard. And since 2024, there have been 120 incidents reported when it comes to crime in that area. We're going to hear from a Charlotte council member about the steps they are taking to keep that area safe. Stay with us.